used to be scared to death of the point he didn't want to come outside. I didn't understand it because I'm from downtown. You heard? We had our own set of killers.
The Rap-Cat Podcast.
Dame impact in Harlem was nothing. Not to say it like that. Dame came up under hustlers that impact was it. He was a little dude when it came to hustling in Harlem. He wasn't not no Rich Porter, none of that type of. He wanted to hustle. He wanted to hustle for Rich Porter and that. Dame from the east side. When the niggas on the east side is different from the niggas from the west side. Now for the east side, Dame was a big deal to us because we were little. He was coming from the west side, little car, jewelry, and all that. So when you're young, he's looking like Rich Porter, but in reality, you know, he was like this. The nigga, go to the store, nigga, take a couple grams, get out of here.
The Rap-Cat Podcast.
That Jim Jones did, and he said that you're not a boss, you're a worker. What do you have to say about that?
You know, someone called me about that, and I laughed because it's ridiculous, but I felt like Jim must have been giving me an alley-oop to front on him, so I will.
Okay, you're invited, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. When I was 15-year-old, I would guess their perspective, because he was a young man, I was big time to him. Because I was 15-year-old and I was doing things that most 15-year-olds weren't doing. And the people that he's rapping about in a lot of his records, like Rich Porter and Lou Sims, these are people I actually used to hustle with. Now, at 15, I'm not gonna say I was a legend at hustling. I wasn't, I was 15. But the people that we were looking up to, by the time I got to their age, I had definitely made more money than them, and I was more impactful as it relates to culture, because it wasn't being known for selling drugs. I was never known for selling drugs. But what you won't do, you could ask Lou Sims if he ever sent me to the store, or ask anybody that you know that was in that world that ever sent me to the store. See, I never hustled with Jim, and I don't think he ever bought a car till it was with rap money. It was never a street thing. Okay. I knew him as Jomo, and it's not a bad thing. This was his name, and he was like an 8-year-old, like a younger kid running around with a clip-on tie, and he lived in 1199 at Dave's house, because I guess whatever it was, he lived. So I never really knew him as, like, growing up. He was always a little kid.
Yeah.
But Cameron brought him around, and I was like, why are you with Jomo? And he was like, well, and he admitted this, well, he has a crib we go to, we just using him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, all right, it's Jomo. But he's done what he's had to do. But, you know, he wasn't there to say that. But if he can say that, like Dookie, I used to hustle with Dookie. He was my lieutenant.
Not Dookie. I thought he was calling the man Dookie.
Yeah, you were wrong. Pause. Duke the God we call him Dookie, Paul.
Okay.
Duke the God is with the Dipset. I used to hustle with him.
Okay.
You could ask him if he ever seen someone send me to the store, but I was always known in the position as somewhat of a boss. And all I did was pass the plug to them. They were like, they always looked up to me at that time, but I was never big time as a drug dealer, but I did have a crew called The Best Out, and we were the youngest crew, and we were legendary. We was all getting money, but again, I'm pretty impressed with who I am and who I was and the things I did, and the fact that the people rap about are the people that I actually hustle with and actually was able to go another direction. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for him, he knows the algorithm. Yeah. And you know, when you say Dame Dash, you go viral. And I was gonna ask you if that, do you think that was more a reason for it? So that he could, so that I could actually have a reason to talk about who I was and tell people to look under the hood. But if you know a 15, 16-year-old, and another thing is because I used to hang out uptown, so people from downtown, I'm from 1199, they weren't usually allowed to go uptown and hustle, and I was on one of the wildest blocks at the time in Harlem. So I got to make it out of a real circumstance. I didn't wait to get the rap to start to get money. I didn't wait to get the rap to start being tough. None of those things. And, you know, you can look under the hood. So I appreciate him bringing it up.
So
and
was
you can, to the extent that I've made my paid in full OG stories, it's about my friends. The people, like, again, y'all making records about Rich, but he really did hit us with work. I was there. If you wasn't there, it's hard to talk about it. To be obsessed and infatuated in such a way that you think to be a person is to go to jail, get killed, and be famous for it for a very short run, That's not what I wanted to be known for. But you could find somebody that sent me to the store. I'd like to know.
And just like I knew was coming, Dame Dash finally answered back to what Jim Jones said the other day on the No Rap Cap podcast. I even dropped the link in the description so y'all can watch both clips from the very beginning, straight out of New Orleans, in full context. That No Rap Cap interview is really where everything sparked, and today we're seeing how it snowballed into something way bigger. Cameron heard what was said about him, things turned tense, and next thing you know, it's a back and forth situation. Then 50 Cent jumped right in, because listen, you know Fifth never misses a chance to chase those capital C's and stir the pot. Now Dame Dash did respond, which I expected, but hold up, he came at this way different than I thought he would, bro. And honestly, I like this response from Dame on the POV show, which runs on the American New Network, aka Dame Dash's YouTube channel. Y'all already know I'm a fan of that era, so just hearing these stories again already had me locked in. Dame told it clean, he told it confidently, and he told it in a way that actually kept it interesting. Because let's be real, Dame is always gonna talk his talk the way Dame talks his talk. He even had a clip-on top, and I'm like, okay, bro, I've never done a clip-on top before, but I respect you keeping it all the way authentic. But hearing someone say it the way Dame said it, listen to this, it hits different. And like I said in my other videos, anybody from the streets, or even just life in general, knows there's a difference when you start belittling somebody. People go through phases, whether it's the streets, hustling, or just surviving, and not everybody was even involved in anything illegal. Sometimes it's just older dudes telling younger ones, hey, run to the store for me. And that's normal in a lot of neighborhoods. You might be 17 telling your 12-year-old nephew, cousin, or little homie to grab something real quick, and yeah, that happens. But it's different when y'all are the same age and that dynamic keeps going, because then it turns into something else. And when Jim Jones said what he said, let's not dance around it. He was absolutely talking down on Dame Dash in that moment. But hearing Dame's perspective on it, I can't lie, I really loved it and respected how he framed it. These guys all ran together at one point, and hearing Duke the God get mentioned brought back a whole wave. I used to ride around blasting that music, man, and I remember Cam, I remember Duke the God, he was crazy hard. Me, my boy D, the whole crew, we were really outside riding to that music, even back in school. Coming up, we were fully locked into that Dipset era, no question. So hearing all this now, watching the movies again, and hearing more of how Dame was connected, you realize it was very real. And I'll say this about Dame, bro, you cannot downplay what Dame brought to this hip-hop, period. I've got another video coming on him too, especially touching on the Charlemagne situation, because that was entertaining, and Dame was saying some solid stuff. Even when he says, everybody's against me, I'm gonna break that down more in the Charla video if I get to it. But just off this response alone, I've gotta respect what Dame brought to the table. Watching those backstage DVDs as a kid, seeing Dipset come to Roc-A-Fella, State Property, Kanye, The Chains, the whole rollout, Dame had his hands in that. Even Rockaware, the culture, the mindset, the creativity, all of it had Dame's fingerprints on it. So yeah, I respect what he did for this culture, and you can't erase that, no matter how you feel. And when he said you can't find anybody who'll say they sent me to the store, that part stood out. He was like, I was from that block, one of those wild blocks, and nobody ever sent me anywhere. Ask Duke, ask them, they'll tell you. Then he told Jim straight up, you threw me an alley-oop so I could basically stunt and pop it on you. Thank you. He said, if you want to go viral, say my name. And girl, you already know how that goes. But I won't lie, it really was dope when they were all together, and I'm a huge fan of that moment in time. I'm always going to cover this story because that's my era, and I bought way too many Roc-A-Fella and Dipset CDs not to care. That's what I was running to the store for, CDs, magazines, DVDs, anything tied to that movement. So anytime this conversation comes back around, I'm going to speak on it. We see Jim Jones still using this moment, still active, still calling himself the algorithm bender. Jim Jones is wild, man, but you got to admit, it's entertaining. Let me know what y'all think. We've got more coming, more videos on the way, all that. 1,000 for the show, and stay sharp with how you pivot.